and welcome to another live demonstration. Today I want to introduce you to charcoal. Well, specifically oil charcoal, which I was reading about the other day. So charcoal, a really wonderfully versatile tool. It gives you the really dark blacks right through to the softer, blended, gentle tones. I really like using charcoal. I get it everywhere, so bear with me. I will probably get it all over my face, so I warn you now. So what is oil charcoal? It's simply something that you can make yourself. It is charcoal dropped into oil. So I've got linseed oil and I've dropped a piece of charcoal in and left it to soak overnight. And what happens is the charcoal infuses the oil. Why would I need to do that? So let me take this one out. It's probably had a little bit longer. So you just simply take it out and take off the excess oil with a kitchen roll, and then just make sure it's nice and dry. What I've created is a much more less blendable charcoal. So you can see there how it goes on, still with those lovely rich tones, but it's not as movable. So I know when I'm doing a charcoal drawing, if I put those really dark tones on, I tend to find they dust off after a little while. But with the oil charcoal, you can put these tones on right at the end, and I know they're going to stay there. One thing I did notice with the charcoal, and I would recommend, you don't put too many sticks of charcoal in at one time unless you're going to use them, because this was one I did about 3 months ago, and I was about to use it when I discovered, I was going, well, what's wrong with it? What happens is they're infused with the linseed oil, and once the linseed oil disappears, evaporates, it's left with a really scratchy stick that actually doesn't work as well as it did when they're quite fresh. So I would, not put many in and just put 1 or 2 in when you know you're going to use it. So if your charcoal's gone like this, it's just lost the linseed from it. So just bear that in mind when you're going to use it. So what I'm going to do a little demonstration using the techniques and then finishing with the oil charcoal just to show you how dark it can be. Okay, so I'm using a watercolour paper, mainly because, again, I like the texture that it creates. So when I'm working with charcoal, I like it to look like a drawing and sketchy. And so I really love the texture of watercolour paper. But charcoal's really versatile and will go on lots of surfaces, so a really smooth surface will offer a different, it will look different and a lot smoother, but for me, watercolour paper, the texture, the grip. So I'm just going to start off with the traditional charcoal, and I'll probably work quite quickly. All I'm doing is blocking out where I know the dark areas are. This is a lovely photograph given to me by my colleague Jackie, and it was taken of this old man when she was travelling through India, and I just thought his face was really, I had to draw it, to be honest. I just thought it was lovely, and he's got blue eyes which are really starking against his dark skin. So just at the moment I'm just kind of plotting and thinking to myself where the darker shadows are. I'm going to do some blending. I don't always blend charcoal. I like to keep it quite fresh, but I think with portraits, like I was saying to Gary, I'd love to do the figure, because the figure's wonderful in charcoal, but it's not a very practical thing to do. So portrait is my next go-to with charcoal. But you can do anything, draw anything with charcoal. So I'm going to do some blending. Maybe put a little bit here. I know I can go back in with the darker tones, so I'm not over worried. I'm just kind of plotting. So you can see there, this is where the dark tones on. And if I push the charcoal in the shape of the face, you can see how it just creates that 3D effect. Pushing it up there. This is how I get it everywhere, because I like to use my fingers. I like to feel the material. A lot of people will wear gloves, but It doesn't. I've tried gloves for lots of different, very messy materials, but I'd like to feel. It. Just helps me be able to work. So just block that out, and here. I also know I can take it down. I can go back a layer because I've got my trusty old Tombow eraser or my kneadable eraser. So these are dark. Just blot his eyes out. And you can see I've not done much, but it started to come together. So now I'm going to work on. It's going to be a quick demo. Like I say, I do like things to be quite sketchy. But, you know, if you have more time, you can learn your own style or your own way of working with tools. And all of it is keep practicing. That's quite dark, and this is dark here. Don't forget, no one's seen the image you're drawing from originally, especially if you've used personal images like this one. So, you know, it doesn't really matter exactly where every hair is. Just get in a mid-tone, and your scarf comes down here. So a lot of this is I'm just thinking about plotting, just thinking about where I'm going to put shading. His beard's quite light, but he will have some dark areas where it's a lot more, you can see the skin underneath or the clothes underneath. He's quite light on the temple, so I'm just pushing that in. So it's pretty much plotted out. So now I'm just going to start and think about where I can put tonal values in.
Is this still the normal charcoal?
This is the normal charcoal. It was only at the end I'll start to really bring in the darker charcoal. At the moment I'm still using the soft charcoal. I can blend and I can move. And you can see pushing it into. This is why I like using my fingers. I just like to feel where it goes. So again, this is darker. But you can see how easy it is to take off this charcoal, especially on the watercolour paper, and how easy it is to blend off, and I'm not getting those lovely dark tones that I want. Just thinking about, okay, so for me, I think that's probably enough. I can always go back into it, so I'm going to pick up my oil charcoal, and now because I know I'm going to keep these dark areas, and I'm not, every time I put my finger over, I'm not going to keep moving it. So actually he needs a lot darker there. So now I'm just looking in his eyes here. They've got some real sparkle, but they're covered with shadow, where the brow, and he's got lighter hair. Just really love the lightness in his eyes. And I'm going to show this by looking at the shadows. Got some really dark, rich shadows here that come round, give some character lines. I'm not calling them the wrinkles, they're character lines. I want to make sure I'm having to step back because I can't see as well under these lights what's happening. So down his nose is quite dark. Pick up some shape. To be honest, I'm not looking at, this is a nose, I'm looking at the shapes the shadows are making. And if I get them right, there will be, so that's not right there. But I know it's soft, I can take that back. Just make sure, onto his cheeks here. Nice and dark. Again, he's got some character lines. So this is the oil charcoal. And I'm just now making sure that those dark areas that I want to keep dark are going to stay dark. Step back. Might have lost a little bit in the eye, but that's fine. I can really darken that, and that will bring this. Like I say, I can't see it without stepping back as easily as you may see on camera. Really getting some rich tones. Okay, so this is dark. And like I say, I quite like a sketchy feel. So I'm not going to overwork. I'm just going to observe the fabric. I love some of these patterns. Just shows what he's wearing, the materials. Dark. So now you can see that he's wearing, I don't know what he's wearing, but this is the dark areas. I'm going in here, just under the beard here. It's dark. And then there's a nice dark shadow. Because I've not got any colour, I'm just having to show different textures of the material by using the light. And there's a nice dark crease here. Again, what I'm also trying not to do is overwork. So I'm probably very close to being finished on this, apart from, I mean, if I had more time, I would keep going. So let's take a short break. I've got time to stand back, review, and then we'll come in and I'll just finish off, because I think that's gone a lot quicker than I anticipated, so I might put a little bit of area in the background, but I need to think about it. So if you have a short break and then come back and we can just finish this off, and I'll show you how quickly, by using this oil charcoal, you can finish this drawing off.
Let us bring out the artist in you. If you'd like to learn how to paint or improve your painting, the SAA is here to inform, encourage, and inspire you every step of the way. When you become an SAA member, you get so many benefits, including the free bi-monthly newsletter Paint, packed with inspiring step-by-step projects, fascinating articles, and detailed information to get your creative juices flowing. Discounts on over 13,000 art products featured on the SAA website and in the Home Shop catalogue, with free order line and free delivery in the UK mainland. A devoted SAA team on hand to answer your questions and give you the confidence and motivation you need to start painting and develop at a pace that suits you. Plus, a free welcome pack filled with gifts and practical help to get you started, as well as the opportunity to make friends with like-minded people.
First thing about being a member is the inspiration from the magazines, to be able to purchase things at a very reasonable price.
Yeah, you get the reduction on all the materials, the advice you get.
I could shop from home.
It's a community.
It seemed like a very friendly sort of organisation.
If somebody's thinking of joining, don't spend too long thinking. Just join. They'll love it.
And we're back.
Welcome back. So during that break, I've had a chance to actually continue to look at the drawing, and I can see a few areas I'd like to work on. So a few more character lines across his head. And this is why it's really useful to walk away and come back, because you see things differently. Just put some character lines on his forehead there. It's actually not, just mostly under his eyes. Okay, so now I'm going to do the hair, and I'm just going to use the tool and just roll it. Again, like I have mentioned before, I like quite a sketchy feel. That's just me. But it works. Sometimes I think it's just as important, the bits you leave out can be just as interesting as the bits you put in. So, just put the beard. Let's look under here and make sure this is the dark area where his mouth is. Put the lip in and under his beard. There's some dark areas. Right. Under the nose, just there. So again, even though the beard is predominantly white, I'm still looking for texture And the texture I'm creating is by rolling and just very gently using the edge of the charcoal. And I don't want to put too much in because it's a predominantly white beard. Just want to show that it's got all those wispy hairs. Just look. And what I am doing is I'm looking at the shape. So I can see here the beard goes round here, and these were the areas I'd created a few darker points, and then it comes down here. So it is important to observe certain features because that will make it look much more realistic. When you're doing animal hair, feathers, as long as you observe the way they're going, you don't have to paint every individual feather, but if you're going in the right direction, it really does help to bring it together. Okay, so it's darker here, so let's work here. And again, if I'd thought about it a little bit more, I would have worked that way so I don't have to lean on my page. But I'm sure I can work around it. It comes round here. The hair has a little wave just there. Comes out. And it's creating its own texture just by rolling it. It's great. I love materials that do the job for you. So just learn how to handle and change the way you handle materials, and you'll get different textures and different ways it moves on the paper. Sorry, am I going across the...
You can see, I've got the side angle.
So it's quite wispy here. So actually, I think I just need to look and actually bring this higher. And now I'm using some of the charcoal that's already on there to move. So take the hair from the top of the head. This is where you do need to get it right, because if your forehead is too short, that's how you lose your proportions, and so your great drawing can be lost if you've got the... Made him a little wilder than he is. Like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to double check myself, just see if I can bring out some more tones using this lightly, dark under here. Let's see how rich and dark that is. And that white line is done because I used a graphite pencil underneath. And that's really useful. It's worked well here. If you've got quite a hard pencil and you've drawn it quite hard, you've scored into the paper. And actually, I like to use those lines. Don't know if you can see here. What it does is it creates its own texture underneath. And it can happen accidentally. Or in the eye, it's worked really well to help retain some of that lightness, which, because charcoal's so little loose, you can lose. So let's just make sure, bring back some of the dark tones. The darker darks, the lighter your lights are going to be, and it just pushes things forward. Dark under here, it's lovely orange. And I think I'm starting to fiddle now. So last thing to do is just think about where I might need to bring some lights back, just to shine on his nose. And this is this lovely Tombow eraser, which I think is lovely. It could give you some, don't know if you can see there, but how it takes things back cleanly, but you've got a really nice, soft point. Let's just see if I can make sure I keep. Actually, let me try something, because I've not tried it on the oil. Don't know how well it takes it off. It does move it. So that's interesting. Like I said, I've not tried it out on the oil charcoal before, and you do have some control about being able to take it back. I didn't know how well that would work. don't think I'm doing a lot here. Just adding a little bit more texture, like I say, light down the nose. I think that's pretty much it. I will just keep fiddling. So, using traditional charcoal to get those lovely soft undertones, and then an oil charcoal, because look how little it moves, and you can still keep those really rich tones. It gives you that lovely rich darkness. So I hope you enjoyed that and have learnt something from it. So join us next week with the lovely Alison Board for a live workshop.